We invited journalist and policy analyst Shikha Dalmia onto the show this week to talk about immigration, in particular the way that immigration laws are being enforced and how that's affecting not just 11 million undocumented workers in America, but American citizens as well being caught up in this. But just before our interview scheduled for yesterday, she found out that 2 members of her family had been caught up in the shooting at the high school in Florida. So we rescheduled the interview this morning, and here's what she told us.
I had heard there was a shooting in a Florida school, but I hadn't made much about it, as I was getting ready. And then I turned on the radio and I realized it was in Broward County, where my brother and his family live. And I called them immediately. And my sister-in-law was, in a state of panic, and she said both the boys were in the school where the shooting took place. The older one was fine, but the younger one was in that building where the actual shooting had taken place, and the killer was still at large. And they had heard from him, about 20 minutes before, and he had said he was hiding and he wasn't sure what was going to happen. And after that, there was just a complete, silence, and they couldn't get in touch with him. And so we were all, of course, extremely panicked and shaken. And, I, of course, had to turn around and go back home. And it was about, I think, 15 minutes after that, then we finally got a text from him saying he was all right.
That's great news for your nephew, but I can imagine that he must have known kids that didn't make it out.
Yeah, one of his very good friends didn't make it. There were kids in the neighborhood who didn't make it. There were several who were injured. Yeah, so it's very harrowing.
Your family must be just trying to absorb this information. How are they feeling, given that there must be so many feelings, mixed emotions, a big political debate immediately springs up around this, and their concerns, I imagine, are probably quite immediate to the well-being of their kids and their friends.
That's right. I mean, they are just focused on, my nephews. The younger one actually was not able to sleep last night, so they took him for grief counseling this morning. The older one is better because, he was not in the thick of it all. But, it's a very difficult time right now.
Shikha, I don't know your personal views about guns. I know enough of your writing to know you're quite libertarian, so I'm assuming that you probably have libertarian views about guns. Has this experience changed your views in any way, shape or form?
We don't have all the facts yet, and it's been so emotionally traumatic in the last 24 hours that, I really haven't had the chance to think about it at any, kind of a theoretical or a political level. My general feeling is, this country has 300 million guns, one for every man, woman, and child. And, even if one thought that reducing the number of guns would lead to a decrease in gun violence, it is not an easy task to accomplish that. In some ways, what we need is a paradigm shift in this country. What we need is, in some ways, do what we do in my native country, India, where there is very, very great security at a micro level. Every mall you go to, they will scan you in their metal detectors for guns. Every hotel you go to, checks to see if, you are carrying arms or bombs in the trunk of your car. And I think, we have to decentralize security because taking away guns, even if it were nice, is simply not a realistic option.
I would imagine a lot of Americans, including many libertarians, would say, well, that sounds a bit like a police state. If you're putting armed personnel everywhere we go, that's hardly the definition of freedom.
No, I mean, I'm not recommending armed personnel, that the government or the state provides to every facility. What I am suggesting is that every industry, every private enterprise has to take a look at their own private security to make sure that they are, preemptively eliminating these threats. Look, the right's solution always is, well, this is a mental health problem. Well, of course it is. And the left solution always is, well, it's a gun problem. Well, of course it is. But, you can't have an open society if you are going to preemptively throw people in jail just because they have a mental health issue or take away their rights. And the same goes for the, for the left and guns. So it would be nice, both of those things would be nice, but it's, they will lead to very draconian results. And so I think the next best thing is for every industry, every school, to think about, some steps that they can do as, countries like India that have been dealing with all kinds of political violence for a long time have been doing. But look, this is all still premature and early. Maybe there'll be some obvious steps that are worth taking that will emerge when more details and more facts about this shooting are in. Right now, at least I am still, just in the mode of processing this all.
And on a personal level, Shikha, that at times of shootings, you hear a lot about thoughts and prayers. A lot of people offer them to console, and sometimes some people from the left get quite critical about the thoughts and prayers concept. You're now on the other side of thoughts and prayers, where people are offering them to you. Do they help?
Not really. The President Trump went on air and offered his thoughts and prayers. But, what helps is, kind of just the support of your near and dear ones and your loved ones. But abstract thoughts and prayers, they are fine, but I'm not sure that, they do all that much, really.
Journalist and policy analyst Shikha Dalmia from the Reason Foundation. And we did also speak to Shikha about immigration enforcement, and we'll hear that discussion, an important one, in another show.